Legends. Now, chat, let's talk about the ban list. What happened? Where are we at? Where are we going? Where the background dancers? Oh, that's Spike. He called me this morning. I think he was like trying to set up some background dancing. Aranga, thank you for the tier 1 in the 7 months. Welcome back. It doesn't matter that you weren't here during the dark times, but we're here in the light. Alright. So, they banned... Let's talk about the bans first, chat. They banned Gigantha. That's fine, I think. I don't necessarily think that Gigantha was too OP, but I do think that a random 5/5 with deck building restrictions was kind of dumb, and you always have to check to make sure your deck is a Gigantha deck, and oftentimes you would cut 1 or 2 cards from said deck to make it a Gigantha deck. So overall, for deck building creativity and to not have a hasty 5/5 with Arena of Glory, I think Gigantha was a good ban. Well, let me do some magic here. Hold on. Let me see if I can do this YouTube style and have the bands next to me while I do this. Perfect. Okay. I don't know about them banning it in Pioneer as well, but hey, here we are. Alright, let's transition this over in a sec here. I gotta move chat up to my other monitor. Yo, Nugget, thank you for the 15 months. I appreciate you. And Fall of Gondolin, thank you for the Prime, the 2 months. Okay, that work? Hey, that worked. Okay, so first off, we just talked about Gigantha being banned. Poor Jaggy had his time in the sun, but unfortunately, Jaggy is no more. Same with Pioneer, and I think Gigantha being banned is a fine outcome for the current meta. It's just kind of annoying to make sure your deck's a Gigantha deck and having to cut the fun cards to optimize it to be able to play Gigantha, so Gigantha out. Not too sad about that. Amped Raptor has been banned. Well, I said it shouldn't have been Amped Raptor. I think it should have been a Ajani. I think it should have been maybe Static Prison instead, but they opted for Amped Raptor. They took the F tier card out of the format already. I know Spike was expecting this card to get banned as early as when we were doing the Modern Horizons 3 playtesting, so I'm not super surprised to see Amped Raptor hit the bin, but I think I would have preferred a Ajani or something in the like to go instead, because I think Amped Raptor is kind of a fun card to see what you flip off the top. They actually did it. They actually banned the ring. I didn't think they were going to do it just because the One Ring is as popular and as notable of a card as it is. I thought they might just restrict the ring, put it to 1, maybe, I don't know. They just axed it. They axed it completely. I think this is a great change because Ancestral Recall plus Time Walk sucks. The One Ring sucks.com. Get this card out of my format. Okay, love the bans. Love them. I think the only thing I would have changed for the bans is that I would have swapped Amped Raptor with either Ajani or Static Prison. Now let's talk about the unbans. This one I didn't expect. I didn't expect to see Mox Opal unbanned. I thought that they were going to unban maybe Jite if they were going to pick an artifact to unban, because Mox Opal can be a little bit powerful, especially with Kappa Cannoneer out there and all this other affinity synergy. But they decided that Mox Opal is fine for the format. I don't think it's going to make too much of an impact. I think it'll boost up some of the, maybe the weaker Urza Saga decks that were in the format. It's obviously a good addition for Scales. I think it's a good addition for Underworld Breach, which is one of the decks we're going to play today. Mox Opal does a lot. I don't know if it was the correct thing to unban in terms of having the most fun out of the format, but I hope to see Affinity make a resurgence in some number. I want to see Scales make a resurgence. I also think this is going to fit really well into the Basking Brood Scale combo, maybe. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some, like, extra fast basking brood scale kills with this Mox Opal. Risky unban maybe. Unlike this next one, Green Sun Zenith, not a risky unban in the slightest. I think this card is not modern power level. I think it's a little bit below modern power level, in fact, and I don't expect it to do anything in the current format. Elves aren't good in modern because you don't have what's that card? Glimpse. Because you don't have Glimpse. Like, elves, I think, are still underpowered. Yeah, you can get Craterhoof Behemoth now once you have a ton of elves. I don't know. I don't know if elves are going to do anything. Maybe Yawgmoth wants to take advantage of it. We're going to try a Green Sun Zenith Yawgmoth shell. But the one problem with Green Sun Zenith in Yawgmoth is that you can't get Yawgmoth itself because Yawgmoth is not a green creature. So you have to get things that support it. Maybe like a Fiend Artisan style shell would be better for Green Sun Zenith. We're going to kind of tinker with some Yawgmoth lists and figure it out. But Green Sun Zenith, I think, is a totally safe unban. I would unban this as well. Faithless Looting, I think it's a little bit strong, if I'm being honest. I do think because Goryo's is already a top tier deck that Faithless Looting is a little bit risky because they're going to adapt into sort of these Mardu style Goryo shells as opposed to Esper now, I think. So we're going to try out a Mardu Goryo's list. I stole Spikes as a starting point, and we can start tinkering from it, or tinkering with it from there. And we'll see how good Faithless Looting is in the Goryo shells. I think that's probably where it's strongest. If not, the second strongest is probably going to be maybe Hollow One or Phoenix. More likely Hollow One, I think, because Hollow One was already a tier deck going into the ban list. So we're going to try out both Faithless Looting in Goryos and in Hollow One today. And then, of course, we got Splinter Twin. I think this is an A+, great unban. Not sad about getting Splinter Twin out of the format anymore. If you can't interact with Splinter Twin by turn 4, what are you doing? You're either 1, not fast enough, or 2, you're not interactive enough. This is a great baseline, well, like the Holy Grail, a great baseline of, is your deck good enough for Modern? Can you beat Splinter Twin? So I really like the Splinter Twin unban. I'm excited to play with Splinter Twin. We're going to play with Spike's FOMO Twin deck today as well. And then maybe try a Jeskai Splinter Twin deck from there as well. I saw in the Discord somebody posted I think it was Bunny, posted a hybrid energy plus Splinter Twin deck. And I really want to try that as well because it looks really cool. So we're going to play a lot of Splinter Twin today. And then I guess we could briefly mention the legacy bans. They banned Psychic Frog and they banned Vexing Bobble. I thought Psychic Frog was a little bit strong because Frog Days is really, really powerful in that format. Was not a huge fan of that. So I'm glad that Frog is now out of the format so it doesn't get backed up by Days on turn 2. And then Vexing Bobble is really, really strong in the Mystic Forge decks because you can go turn 1 Mystic or turn 1 Vexing Bobble. Your opponent can't Daze anymore. Your opponent can't Force a Will. Then you just get the combo off on like turn 3 or turn 2, whatever, depending on how fast your draw is, depending on how many keys you have, how many mana rocks you have. Mystic Forge combo is really strong. I'm glad to see Vexing Bobble out of the format. Even if it hurts these non-blue decks that are just trying to combo, I think it's still completely fine to have this out of the format. Like, a combo deck like Storm doesn't even play this card, for example. You can. Some builds have played this card, but I really don't think it's necessary because the Storm deck itself is trying to cast a bunch of zeros from Lotus Petal to Lion's Eye Diamond to Chrome Mox, whatever it may be. I'm happy Vexing Bobble's out of the format. And then Jagotha got banned in Explorer as well. We could read their little reasoning here as well, because I haven't read it yet. It's quite long, but I think we should give it a read. What's Jeremy's Twitch name? Is Jebby MTG, I believe. Alright, let me, let's read this together, chat. I have not read it yet, so let's do it to it. Put it up here. Alright, Modern, written by Dan Musser. The One Ring is now banned. Amped Raptor Gigantha, Mox Opal, Green Sun Zenith, Faithless Looting split between all unbanned. Going into this announcement, it was clear that Modern needed the most help among our competitive formats. I agree. Our previous action in August addressed the most glaring issue in the format, not of the Winged Wisdom, but we haven't gotten much better. I agree as well. We analyzed a handful of options to try and get the format in a spot that players would enjoy and be excited about. However, we felt more was needed. Our players are the backbone of the competitive magic. We can observe tournament results, analyze the metagame, and dig into our win rate numbers all day long. But it's all of you playing these formats, and at the end of the day, it's our job to ensure that's as much fun as possible. Modern is the same format as it was years ago. There are several cards we banned years ago. Since then, several new sets have been released, specifically Modern Horizon sets, made a big impact on the format. As such, we've decided to set a handful of cards free. We'll start by talking through each banning, then we'll move to each unbanning. It's no secret that the One Ring has been a large part of the modern metagame. It was announced in August that we stated that it wasn't a dominant One Ring deck, but that changed. Yeah, yep. As Boros Energy became the premier One Ring deck, the opportunity cost of including the One Ringer deck is nearly too low, and its presence in events have been tiresome for many players, acting as a tool for self-preservation and a source of card advantage, Ancestral plus Time Walk. It requires no commitment to any particular color. We believe it's clear, as is for many of you, that Modern would be more enjoyable without its inclusion. Thus, the One Ring has been banned in Modern. Huey, thank you for the 20 months. I appreciate it. Removing the One Ring is also certainly a hit to Boros Energy, Modern's most played and most consistently dominant deck, but it also impacts several other strategies. We'd like to ensure that we reduce the overall win and play percentages of Boros Energy directly, though we don't want to eliminate it from the format like we did with Nadu Winged Wisdom. We considered many cards in the decks, deciding how to knock Boros Energy down a few pegs. With Guided Souls, Johnny, Flage, then we landed on Amped Raptor. Each of those options could be reasonably included in a few other archetypes, while Amped Raptor is the only card that appears in Boros Energy. Amped Raptor allows for the deck's most explosive stars, acting as an energy enabler and a payoff, and often amounting to the extra. Just scrolled down, I lost my spot. Often amounting to an extra 1 to 4 mana in the early turns in the game, so Amped Raptor is banned in Modern. As far as bannings, Gigantha, many of the same reasons already explained above apply to Modern. Ultimately, the decision to avoid cards that cost more than one of the same symbol isn't very interesting or fun to make. I agree on that 100%. It was not fun to have to exclude certain cards out of your deck just because you wanted to put Gigantha in your deck. I think it's really unfortunate that we had to stop playing Liliana of the Veil because you wanted to put Gigantha in your Tarmogoyf deck, for example. So Gigantha being cut out of the format, I think, is a really great decision. By making a couple swaps in deck building, you get access to mostly a free 5/5, earning you a couple percentage points in the win column. This reduces the pool of options you might consider when deck building, which turns into a less diverse format. 100% agree. Gigantha is clocking at around 40% of all modern decks, from Energy to Zoo. Several more fringe strategies to reduce the dominance of Boros Energy and increase the amount of diverse card choices available. Gigantha has been banned. The bans above should do a decent job of making Modern more fun and balanced, but what could be even better when we ban cards, we tackle problems as they arise, using tournament data and community feedback to navigate the format to a better place. The combination of objective and subjective reasoning has its flaws. Namely, the more sets released into a given format, the more powerful it becomes. We've examined several cards on the banned restricted list and reintroduced some in the Modern format. It is worth noting that this is the beginning of the new era. Many of the given feedback time and time again about good old days of Modern, before Modern Horizon sets started increasing the power level of the format and making iconic decks obsolete. After long consideration, we've chosen the initial list of cards to unban. We'll closely monitor how these cards impact competitive Modern events upcoming in the regional championships March 31st, 2025 to evaluate how things are looking. Did we make Modern a better place? Can we handle a wave of nostalgic and infamous cards to re-enter Modern? Was there something that we released that makes Modern less fun? Only time will tell, so let's get to it. For much of Modern's history, artifact decks have been a pillar of the format, with decks like Original Affinity, KCI Combo, and even Lantern Control. But it has been a while since we've seen such a strategy be competitively viable. We took a couple shots to elevate artifact strategies in Modern Horizons 2 and 3. The power wasn't simply there. Mox Opal was banned in 2020 after the introduction of Modern Horizons, where we included Urza, while having Mox Opal, and then you got, all these broken Urza, Oko, Mox Opal decks that were kind of dominating the format when you also had Astrolabe in the format as well. But now we printed Meltdown, Wrath of the Skies. Our expectations is that we introduce Mox Opal to give a rise to several interesting artifact strategies to both new and old without any power to strong decks, and so Mox Opal is unbanned in Modern. Green Sun Zenith has been banned since 2011, banned during a time where the green decks were too strong and the card offered a level of consistency and flexibility that was difficult to combat, often narrowing the range of cards you considered playing. In fact, the logic we used to ban Giganta this time around applies to why Green Sun Zenith was banned in the first place, but that was over a decade ago. Today's Green Sun creatures decks are few and far between. Even the Baskin Brute Scale combo decks can't use Green Sun Zenith to find its namesake. Yawgmoth has basically fallen off the map, and we find while Grist is a nifty, while finding Grist is nifty, key cards like Bowmaster, Yawgmoth, and Cutthroat are unable to be tutored. Can Elves make a resurgence? Modern Horizons 3 new to modern reprints Sylvan Safekeeper and Wirewood Symbiote might be tasty targets. Maybe old favorites like Dryad Arbor and Primeval Titan will be entering more often. To help increase metagame diversity, Green Sun Zenith is unbanned in Modern. Back in 2019, after Pro Tour Barcelona, it was clear that Hogak Arisen Necropolis was stronger than intended. One of the cards that died for Hogak's sins was Faithless Looting, but Faithless Looting had popped up in multiple strategies. Arclight Phoenix, Hollow One Dredge, and some fair mid-range cards like Young Pyromancer and Seasoned Pyromancer. Now, 5 years later, we're interested in seeing Faithless Looting. We're interested in seeing what Faithless Looting can do without a certain giant avatar rearing its ugly head. Much like with the discussion of Mox Opal, we've introduced several anti-graveyard options in a Modern to Faithless Looting, namely Endurance and Bogart Trawler. Faithless Looting is unbanned in Modern. Alright. A little bit left. As a question for the ages, would Splinter Twin be strong in today's Modern? Twin was banned back in 2016 after consistently being at the top of the metagame and taking down a few Pro Tours. The fear of tapping out into 3 open mana and dying was real. Do you hold up mana for removal, or do you try to progress your board state in hopes of getting the game over before your opponent can assemble the 1-2 punch of Pestermite and Splinter Twin? History tells us that replacing Splinter Twin with Kiki Jiki doesn't cut it. So 8 years of format evolution keep the Twin combo deck in check? We think it can. Answers exist that once didn't, including several 0 mana cards that keep you alive if the opponent decides to tap out for their 4 mana enchantment. Solitude, Force of Negation, Force of Vigor, and Flare of Denial have all seen competitive Modern play, and each of them can solve the play patterns that Twin decks once exhibited. Unlike Mox Opal, Faithless Looting, and Green Sun Zenith, which can help support multiple different strategies, Splinter Twin only helps support one strategy. But the whole point of today's reverses bans is to call back to the Modern of yesteryear. Each card was justifiably removed from Modern in the past, but times change and we realize that Modern isn't what it used to be. Splinter Twin is symbolic of an era of Modern that people really fondly look back on. It is now free. Enjoy the memes. Enjoy the memes. Alright. So, it seems like this entire ban list was kind of formulated around nostalgia. I think that they hit a lot of things on the head. Frank, thank you for the 50 bits. Damn, that's a lot of money. Yeah, Mox Opals are being like bought out everywhere. I think Splinter Twin's pretty expensive. Green Sun Zenith is up there as well. There is a lot of stuff financially happening because of this ban list. But more importantly, were these cards a good idea to unban? I think that this post is very down to earth, unlike most ban and restricted kind of discussions that they post in the past. A lot of them seem like they're kind of out there and not really understanding what players are upset with. But I think this one was very connected to the community, which I was very surprised about. So chat, thus begs the question, which of these cards are too strong for the format? Which of these cards are not strong enough for the format? That's what we're going to find out today. LED, thank you for the 19 months. I appreciate the tier 1. So chat, for you, I have post bans Hollow One with Faithless Looting. I'm not really changing any of the sideboards yet because I don't know what the meta is going to look like. So the sideboards are going to be really janky for the time being. We got Green Sun Zenith and Yawgmoth with a few cool green tutor targets like Fiend Artisan and Enduring Vitality. We're going to see how that does. Then we got Mardu Goryo's. This I just stole from Spike as a starting point because I do think I really like what he's doing with the whole Mardu shell. I think it's probably better than blue now. So we're going to try out the Mardu Goryo's deck. Sorry, let me move the camera just a hair. And then we got Splinter Twin with FOMO. Not sure if this deck wants FOMO or not. Not sure if it wants all these copies of Lorien revealed either, but again, we're going to use Spikes as a starting point because I think he does a pretty good job of being where you want to be, at least initially, with this whole Deceiver Exarch Splinter Twin stuff and the FOMO Splinter Twin, giving yourself Delirium, and then FOMO Twin kills your opponent as well. And then we got, finally, what I believe is probably going to be the most powerful Mox Opal deck, and that is Teamer Underworld Breach. It's Corey's exact list, except replacing the rings with Mox Opal and just being more low to the ground. I just jabbed Timmy in the heart by not putting Lantern Control up here, but I'm sure he'll make me play Lantern Control soon enough anyways. So, Mox Opal deck, Splinter Twin deck, Faithless Looting deck, Green Sun Zenith deck, and we got a second Faithless Looting deck over here as well. This is where we're going to start today, chat. But now I have a question for you. What do you want to see first? So I'm going to run a 2-minute poll here.
Have you peeked?
Bing bong, bing bong, bing bing bong.
Have you peeked?
You're a third-rate duelist.
I can't take it anymore.